Hello and welcome to this week's video. I'm going to do some more work over ebonising lacquer with some metallic acrylic paints. Bit different from the tea light one, but hopefully it'll be of interest. And I'll try to give a bit more detail about the actual process this time, just to assure you there's no sleight of hand and off-camera trickery. Let's get on with it. Right, so I've done the turning already. This was a 12-inch piece of beech. Because of a split in it, it's now an 8.5-inch piece of beech. But I'm going to do some work just on this outer rim here, then hollow out the inside. I'm going to start off with some ebonising lacquer from the ebonising lacquer cupboard. Now I probably should have shaken this first. I might cut this bit. You don't want to watch me shaking this for 2 minutes, do you? Do you? No. Really? Now before I spray it, I don't want to spray it this direction because I'm going to get some on the back. So I'm going to spray it over on that side of the blank. Bringing the speed down. And that's going to need a few minutes to dry. And then I'll put a second coat on. And even without my glasses, I'm pretty sure I've got no overspray on the back. Right, but that really does need a good few minutes to dry off, especially as it's winter and freezing cold outside. I have got my oil-filled radiator on, but even so, it's going to take a bit of time. And just while that's drying, moving up in the world from jam jar lids, cat food pots. Thanks to my friend Mick Coomber for these. So going to use these to mix up the paint. Now while that's drying, instead of just using the paint straight from the pot, I'm going to thin it down like I did with the tea light last week and then wash the colour on. But rather than do the spattering, I think I'm going to try to build up a few coats, see if I can get a sort of cloudy metallic-y effect going on. Okay, time for the second coat. You can really see with the second coat that we get a bit of a build up of the gloss that's going to provide such a nice background for the paints to go on. Now I don't want to get paint onto the back of the bowl, but I do want to go to the very edges. And see over here gravity helping with its movement. I think that looks quite effective. Put some more on up here. And if you're worrying about the lathe bed, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can. I've got a bit of board under here just to protect the lathe. Some bits I haven't got it quite to the edge, and I think those will notice. So just turning it around, spotting bits where there's less coverage. I don't know if you can see, but it's still moving over here. Maybe make it change direction. Swirl it back on itself. So that's, we've got copper on there. I'm going to go with some gold now. Again, it's going to be thinned down. Very watery, a wash really, I suppose you'd call it. And rather than put this everywhere, I'm just going to put it in some of the spots. I quite like the effect that the paint brush strokes give it. Putting in places where maybe the copper hasn't taken so much. It's interesting, you do get the shimmer of it as it comes round. Now, I'm not covering the whole rim with the gold, but I am connecting it all up so that there aren't bits where there's no gold. I don't know why I'm doing that. That just seems to be the right thing to do. It might be a dreadful mistake, but I'm going with white. And of course the only way really to find out is just get on and do it. Because of course I've always got the option of coming back over the white with one of the other colours. And this one is not quite as watered down. Bit of sawdust to come off there. Now just put a bit more of the copper in with what was left of the first pot. And coat number 4. And my thinking is to try to go over the edges of the white as a softening of those, because it is quite a bit noticeable. Good grammar. Quite distinct, quite a different sort of tone to it, the white, than the colours underneath. So just going to build up. Again, because it's so wet, as I'm turning it, the paint's moving. And I think giving me something a bit warmer. I'm not going to say putting the white on was a mistake, but it's given me the opportunity to continue adding paint. Still a little harsh for my liking, so keep going. The copper is, I think, the warmest of the metallics in this selection. Now, just mixed up a bit of Chestnut's iridescent red, which I'm just going to try out on the edge here. Because all of this is going to be turned away. I want something a bit of something a bit warmer still, but I don't want this everywhere. Just going to put little hints of it in places. So I'm being much more sparing with this. And it is thinned a little bit. Now there's quite a lot of variation in the colour, maybe a little busy. It's quite hard as well because of the reflective nature of the paint to actually see it face on, but perhaps when the gloss goes on, the lacquer goes on, that will help with that. I am going with just one last coat of the copper, something to have as a sort of the main colour. This is of course watered down again, similar consistency to what I started with. And it's got quite a bit of movement left in it because of its runniness. Just softening out some of the bits where it's not dry yet and it is getting a little ridged. I don't mind there being those lines, but I don't want them to be raised. And this is just a damp brush, nothing magical about it. Now when that is dry, I will just cut it back very lightly before the gloss lacquer goes on. So, like I say, just cut back with one of the yellow chestnut pads. Very, very light pressure, if any, really. Okay, let's get that gloss can shaken. Right, it's had all night to dry. I've buffed it up with a bit of burnishing cream. Ready to take the middle out now. With a freshly sharpened parting tool, I'm just going to define the edge of my rim. Can you tell I'm smiling? Right, well. Oh, more metallic fun. Oh, I must get a haircut. Put my eyeglass Alice band on. Okay, well here it is. Another one finished. Although I lost quite a lot of the diameter because of a nasty split that ran through it, I still think that's a decent sized bowl. Like I say, it's about 8.5 inches across. Probably about 1/4 of an inch thick at the bottom there, but still feels very nice in the hand, and I'm sure it will grace anyone's hall table in some wide Victorian or Edwardian house somewhere in classy part of Brighton at this year's Artists Open House Festival. Certainly hope it will. It was fun to do, even if it did take a bit of time waiting for the paint to dry. I hope you found this video interesting, and if you did, it'd be great if you gave it a thumbs up, and it'd be wonderful if you subscribed as well if you're new here. And before I finish, just a huge thank you to everyone who has subscribed to my channel. It really, really does make all of this worth doing, and it gives me a little warm glow inside. And of course, subscribing is totally free. Right, I think that's it for this week. Thanks for watching. And as a little footnote, don't forget about Chestnut's wood-turning weekender, first weekend in August 2019. Lots of detailed information on their website, and I'll put a link below, and hope to see many of you there. Cheers.